by taking us to witness, by taking us to associate ourselves with those tests. The Lord is trying to remind us that you take the maximum benefit out of it. I am equally putting test on you, but you have not accepted it as a test. You put a label for everything that happens. Good, bad, positive, negative, gain, loss, and then you feel miserable, feel elated for some time. That was the same case with Papa's professional life. We have to take it that every test that he subjects Papa to go through, it's a lesson for us, something for us to remember, so that whatever that happens in our life, we should know that we are subjected to go through the same by the Almighty Lord of the universe for our own spiritual progress. So with that background, he took us up to Madurai yesterday, and there the last portion is he met the same Govindanandaji. Sadhu Ram himself and Govindanandaji were there, and the tired Sadhu Ram was sleeping, and Ramdas was squatting at his feet. In sleep, the Sadhu Ram's legs happened to touch Ramdas's body. Govindananda remonstrated it and was about to shake up the Sadhu Ram when Ramdas addressed the Swami. Test, we should know God is testing him. Whether the sadhak, whether the devotee is in a position to stretch the God dimension to everything. If the test is not given, how will we know? We are cursing the test actually. But if the test is not given, how will we know? That is the exam, Test means exam. So he says, Maharaj, please don't disturb the sadhu. He is sound asleep. Govindananda said, he is kicking at you. I cannot bear the sight. I consider it nothing short of sacrilege. And at that time, Papa answered, Swamiji, it is all right. His feet are holy. He is Ramdas's guru. He is Ram, so no harm anyway. The Swami said he could not understand Ramdas, whom he held in high reverence. So one more test. Papa passed the test. How was he able to pass the test? Initially in the chapter he says, Ramdas, who was always busy with the meditation of Ram, was feeling as though he was moving about in a dream. Ram, his sole quest, sole thought, sole aim. So you and I are finding it difficult to accept it as a test because we are not in communion with him, we are not feeling the nearness, we are not feeling that he is guiding us, leading us. This is what he now teaches. In Papa's case, every chapter it comes that word, meditation of Ram. That is why he was able to keep up this. So, though it may be difficult for all of us, but still we will try. 1%, 2%, 5% like that. And again, after that, next day the Sadhu Ram proposed to move from the place. Before doing so, he told that his duty insofar as guiding him to Rameshwaram was concerned was over, and that he should be permitted to part from him in order to proceed to his Gurusthan at Rajamanargudi. So from Madurai he is leaving Papa alone there and going to his place, Gurusthan. Now you see, in the sports, we have heard, what is it called? The baton will be changed, Somebody will be remaining there, the baton will be given to him. Relay race. Similarly, we find each one is quitting, but each one is stepping. Then he said, there is another train, so he got into the train, and the other man said, it is proceeding towards Chidambaram. Now at Chidambaram. The moment we hear about Chidambaram, what first wells up in our mind is the Nandanar Charitram. Though Papa has not made any mention about it, but when the moment we hear Chidambaram, there are two unique things. One is that the Nandanar Charitram, the other thing probably the temple where, Lord Shiva is in the form of Nataraja. We will try to share some thoughts about Nandanar because Papa is also a greatest devotee of God. So probably he wants the viewers or readers or aspirants who are going through this book. Just like yesterday he made us to plumb deep about Madurai Meenakshi temple. It is left to us to find out why Chidambaram is famous. Before coming to that, he said the train steamed, and we will first read this chapter. At noon, the train streamed into Chidambaram station. Ramdas stepped out on the platform. He was now without a guide. Ram had made him a child, without plans, without any thought of the next moment, but with his mind ever fixed in the one thought of Ram. He found some pilgrims proceeding towards the city and followed him. At midday, he reached the precincts of the temple of Chidambaram. He went up straight to the entrance of the temple, but could not gain admission as none was allowed to get in without a payment of 4 annas, the entrance fee. He was without a single pie, which however he did not at all regret. He wandered for a time amidst the ruins surrounding the temple, and after bathing in one of the many tanks, seated himself on a long stone in the sun in a secluded portion of the ruins. It was now about 1 o'clock. Ramdas, who was all the while absorbed in the Ramjapa, opened a small bundle of books and taking out the Bhagavad Gita, commenced reading it. He had not perused half a dozen verses when he found a stout Tamilian coming towards him and taking a seat beside him. Maharaj, he inquired, may I know if you have taken any food for the day? No, replied Ramdas. But Ram provides, no fear so far, no thought of it. You remind me, friend. Can you tell me what kind of food you take? Plantains, if you please, Ramdas rejoined. At once the friend got up and disappeared, and in a short time returned with a dozen plantains, and laying them in front of Ramdas, pressed him to eat. O Ram, thy ways are wonderful. The repast over, the Tamilian who was sent by Ram himself to look after the wants of his humble devotee, next asked Ramdas to follow him. At the entrance of the temple, he paid annas 8, the entrance fee for both, took him inside the temple. After the darshan of the idols, he showed him the whole interior of the temple. One rarity here is the roof of the central building of the temple is covered with sheets of gold. The guide furnished by Ram was very kind to him. There was that night puja in the temple in a grand style, and also a procession attended by thousands. When all this was over, it was past midnight. The Tamilian friend secured for Ramdas a place for spending the night. Here he made Ramdas understand that he was only a pilgrim come here to attend the night's puja and procession from a neighboring town, and that he intended to return by the early morning train, and that he was so much blessed by Ramdas' society for ever so short a time. Ramdas' heart was too full of words. Ram's kindness was indescribable. Next morning, along with other pilgrims, Ramdas came to the railway station. But where to go, by what train, he was entirely in the dark. His imaginative faculty for making plans and seeking information was totally absent. Without a guide, he was feeling helpless. He depended for all things on Ram, whom he was remembering every moment of his existence. On reaching the station, he found a train standing, but did not know whence it had come and whither it was proceeding. He straightway went up to the gate and was entering the platform when the ticket clerk barred his passage, telling him that he should not enter without a ticket. It was all Ram's will. Ram did not want that he should travel by this train. Probably it might be running towards a direction where Ramdas would come across no places of pilgrimage. Ram knew best. Who was that?
Sannyasanand Swamiji.
So we will start this. First thing, when we were going through this, his imaginative faculty for making plans and seeking information was totally absent. It's a thing on which you have to deeply ponder over. Every moment, our imaginative faculty pushes forward. It may be right or wrong. Here it is totally blank. That means submission to the will of God is total. Then why should there be the imaginative faculty to take him forward or backward? The imaginative faculty of making plans and seeking information was totally absent. He depended for all things on Ram, whom he was remembering every moment of his existence. So we are being taught now, this is the lesson here. Your imaginative faculty will cease functioning only when you remember. Though I am taking, you are not remembering. So we pray to him, we want to, but we don't know how. So kindly help us to know that you are guiding us. In Papa's case, it was a transition from belief to trust. So he had nothing to ask. We are all at the belief stage level. The total trust level it has not come to us. That is why we find it difficult. We believe whenever we believe, because whenever a topic comes about God or something, we all enjoy it. But in all our day-to-day activities, we don't bring it. We feel that is separate from him. So this is one test. So every time Papa is put on test, always feeling the guidance from Ram by fixing the mind with the one thought of it. And then, finally, before the temple, the moment we hear the word Chidambaram, a devotee will surely remember the famous Papa Nandanar. Why we remember, how total submission to the Lord enables the devotee to literally become one with him, is portrayed in the life of Nandanar. Literally means, just like Apaya Dikshitar, just like Vadalar, the body got dematerialized. really becoming one with the cosmic force. The individual life merges, literally merges in the cosmic. There are so many versions about Nandanar Charitram. To put it in a brief, but we have heard 2-3 versions. One version we will try to share in the shortest possible time. On those days, this caste system was predominant, and he belonged to the backward caste. But he had a pure mind, and he was working with a scholar brahmin. He is called Vedyar, who had agricultural lands, but who had somehow noticed Nandan he was called. Nandan is a special one. His mission is something noble. Though he did not reveal this to anybody, he loved him so much he did not express it. So every now, at the same time, this Nandan developed. He used to hear the discourses of this Vedyar stealthily, because he cannot go in the front and hear. So whenever this Vedyar extolled the divinity, the glories of Lord Shiva, he developed this feeling of having his darshan in Chidambaram temple. Every time when he puts up the request, it was turned down by the Vedyar, because he knew once he goes, he will not come back. His wife was also very much attached to Nandan. So she used to plead to the Vedyar, why don't you allow him to go once? Then he, from what we have heard through the Harikatha of Haridas Swami, he will say, you don't know him. Without Nandan I cannot live. If he goes to the temple, he will not come back. But anyhow, the bhakti, the ardent desire to have the darshan of the Lord in the temple was welling up rapidly. And one day he pleaded. And the Vedyar knew it was coming from the bottom of the heart. So he gave an insurmountable task, which will take days and weeks. That you must plough the whole land, and then after harvest you can go. Right from ploughing, then sowing, and then transplanting, and then watering, and then harvesting, all those things. It will take minimum 3-4 months. With a heavy heart, this Nandanar slept. But God was on his side. Next day, early morning, when he got up and saw heaps of recently harvested paddy was there. All the paddy field, it will show that it has just been, the harvest has taken place. And so he couldn't believe his eyes. So he now got the permission. As soon as this is over, he can go. So he started running toward the temple. Early morning, when the wife started calling him, he was not there. So they came out. Both of them came out, and then they saw this miracle. Then they knew that Nandan had gone to the temple. So when he was running, chanting his name, at that time another story also says that since he belonged to a different caste, from those days, they were not allowed. So when Havan was going on, so intuitively he was made, you pass through this Havan, and the priests, the Orthodox priests, were also instructed through their dreams that if one of my great bhakta is coming, he will pass through this Agni Pariksha, receive him with all temple honors. So when he passed through this, the whole physical appearance got changed. And then everybody prostrated before him. Then he proceeded towards the temple. Nandi was blocking. From there he prayed, I wanted to see you. Immediately the Nandi, changed its direction. Straight away he saw the idol. He ran towards it, and then nobody knew what happened. He materialized himself. So a Bhakta, through this Nandanar Charitram, we are told that you will also, our sense of individuality will become one with the cosmic reality through this simple faith. Whereas the Vedyar, who is a scholar, who is an authority on Vedas, Upanishads, this and that, he was crying. I was carrying all these, but I did not get that, what you call, pure bhakti. I was not selected by him. So it shows that all these things are okay. It caters to our mental and intellectual requirement. But the real requirement is something beyond that. For that, pure bhakti is necessary. This is what wells up in our heart always. Whenever we are asked to go through any shastras or anything in learning, we know the limitation of it. It is all right to share with somebody. It is nice to, but ultimately it's all for outer this thing, For our inward journey, we have to leave everything and go. Ultimately, the Nishchala Tattva is what is recommended. That we forget. In our anxiety, that is why Papa used to say minimum reading. The other day we saw that letter to Puja Swamiji. Minimum reading. Reading is necessary, but minimum. Otherwise it becomes an obsession in our mind. There is a tendency to grab as much details, as much knowledge as possible from outside, under the banner of spirituality. And in that process, we get stuck. So this is the lesson God is teaching us through Nandanar Charitram. So Papa went there. He was not having, just imagine, 24 hours, 25 paise. Till yesterday, we know that he was having 9 rupees, And 9 rupees. He was having money. Normally, what will be our reaction, But not a word of grumbling. So the test was severe. And he has not had his food. Another test. So he was the non-admission, not perturbed by the non-admission. No thought about the food even. And then he goes there, has his bath, selects a solitary place, sits there, and takes up the Bhagavad Gita, satsang with Bhagavad Gita. When he thus passed the test, Ram provided him. Again sent somebody else. The relay baton has to be handed over to somebody. So a stranger, absolutely a stranger, who has come to take part in the Utsav there, just imagine he goes in search of Papa, who is sitting in an isolated place, then asks him whether he had his food. So trust in him. Test on Papa, as I said, it's a test on the spiritual aspirant. But at the same time, God is teaching us, though I put you on trust, I put you on test. Those who trust me, I will never abandon them. Mamekam sharanam brada, aham tva sarva papebhyo. It is becoming clearer and clearer. Otherwise, why should a stranger go and locate him? Known person we can understand. And so then he was located, he was asked, all those things we have read. Then Papa did not ask him, Papa did not tell him that I couldn't gain admission because I had no money. After food, plantains, of course, again plantains, when he says he was all constantly in remembrance of Ram, God ensured that he took only sattvic food. And then made this person to take him. Papa did not resist. And he attended the whole thing. Went to the temple, attended the whole puja, utsav. And then this person brings him back. So here, some thought about it. He makes a mention about puja. There was that night puja in the temple in a grand style, and also a procession attended by thousands. So puja and utsav are relevant for a commoner. When God makes them to carry so many preoccupations with them, they have faith, no doubt. Maybe superficial, maybe a little more at a deeper level. So every now and then it should not get extinguished. So God provided temples and temple rituals, pujas, utsav. That is an occasion for everybody to gather. In good old days there was no entertainment or no get-together, So temples were the centers where everybody meet on specific occasions. So it is something like kindling, the bhakti aspect. Many people will share many of their experiences. So the relevance of puja and temple utsav is gently touched by Papa here. We never belittle the importance of any of these. Or Shabrimala, evening there will be a Shiveri there, where the idol of the Lord is taken. No devotee will feel it as an idol. Because such is the attitude of bhaktas towards it. Every moment, everybody will accompany. There are so many pujas, rituals, every few steps. It all gives an inexplicable, pleasant feeling in the heart of a devotee of communing with him. Outwardly we say we are accompanying that procession, but it is an inner communion. There won't be any other talk. So all these have relevance. And God sees to it that He provides. Even to a committed Nirguna Bhakta like Papa. He went there, he made them to go through it. He did not tell the other man, it's all right, to me this is okay. No. Wherever we find, though he was a committed Nirguna Bhakta, we find how happily he joins and makes use of the situation. Because there also is he, It is not that he is not there. There also it is there. In the Saguna form also he is there. In the Nirguna form also it is there. That message. Then any other then again one more test. What is the test? After that, when he goes to the station, he was about to get into the train. One train was there. He was denied. Quietly he came back. And what was his attempt? And what was his attitude then? His attitude was that Ram did not will that Ramdas should go to that side, because there could be no places of pilgrimage. When he makes a mention about pilgrimage, so he has accepted that God is taking him on a pilgrimage to show him round, Not only that, he is putting on Papa various tests for the ultimate graduation to the cosmic level experience. He was also taking him on a pilgrimage. And through him, he is taking us on a pilgrimage. That is why not only that he made him to take a pilgrimage, but he prompted him to write down in a book called In Quest of God, where, with all minute details, he was prompted to write it down. And today you and I are going through it. For posterity's sake. Those who evince interest, they have to be taken care of in their own way. Though this is not the only way, those who have evinced interest in joining him in this journey, he wanted to show the places, he wanted to make us understand the various tests he has put on Papa, the way and how Papa responded to it every time. And so that when we are put to test, slowly we will try to... No, that is not the expression. When we are also taken for a trip, there will be so many instances where we normally name it as negative or positive, but we should now treat everything as a test given to us by him. Every incident is a test, whether we call it positive or negative. With that attitude, we should go through every chapter, because it is a reminder to us. Why should we otherwise hear this? Not to glorify Papa the person, no. Papa put this in writing in such a way, or God made Papa to put this in this way, so that we will eke out the maximum benefit out of it. In Udupi temple, the Lord turned to give darshan to devotee who was of a lower caste. I think Ram was put a lot of tests by Papa's total trust and surrender, in which Ram has committed to assist of Papa. It's another good way of looking at it. That means Papa is putting a test on Ram.
Not Ram testing Papa. Not Ram testing.
This is how, whether you will take me. Think Ram was put to a lot of tests by Papa's total trust in him and surrender, for which Ram was committed to assist Papa. The devotee has no lower caste, upper caste. God sees his heart. Very good. Absolutely. Then if we totally surrender to the Lord, He will look us. Papa was doing the same. These are some of the thoughts, comments came from the devotees. So we have to take this message very seriously now. We are in the 7th or 8th chapter. So these 7 chapters, if we just take it like that, now it's becoming clearer and clearer. The first chapter gave us the whole thing. The introductory message gave us that this is a course given to us. Curriculum, syllabus, methodology, degree, everything was elaborately discussed. And the first chapter gave a synopsis of the whole purpose. First introduced something like a preamble. how a devotee is made to take up with all its sincerity. And in the second, a clear-cut message that this quest is purely to eliminate the me and mine and hand ourselves over lock, stock and barrel to the Almighty Lord of the universe. And then comes the very important thing is dispossessing everything, and at the same time getting oneself totally detached from all bondages, and then binding oneself with three vows so that we will not go out of bounds. And then the saga begins from 4th, 5th, 6th. We found that, how he was first taken to Rameshwaram, and then Madurai, and now Chidambaram. So we should know we are traveling with him. Every now and then we have to remind ourselves. Either we can say we are traveling with him or he is taking us with him. He is taking us with him to witness what all he did in the case of Papa's transition. And through that, so many learnings. He depended for all things on Ram, whom he was remembering every moment of his existence. Something very important word. We remember only when we want, occasionally only, Though we all claim to be Papa's devotees, and we are praying only when we want certain things the way in which we want. We are not submitting there also. In spite of knowing, in spite of hearing all these things of us. So first we have to learn this. Hereafter, whenever we pray, though he has given us the freedom to pray for whatever we feel like, we should opt for this. Very difficult. Okay, we can say now, but when we are put to test, we will immediately seek remedial measures, that's all. Just like this, we don't accept. So this acceptance of all situations is one of the greatest lessons through every chapter he teaches. And that is possible only when we lead a simple life, and with the, what is that word? The beautiful word, the imaginative faculty for making plans and seeking information was totally absent. This can happen only when there is total submission to Ram. When we were sharing about Nandanar Charitram, there we found God is infusing this bhakti into him by making him to hear the discourses of this Vedyar. So when he was talking about the glories of God, slowly, the devotion starts welling up. So he provides. There also, we find, like Papa, he gives a slight discontentment, So when we get discontented, we should know it's a blessing. Because if we are contented with that situation, we will not think about the ultimate. So this is something on which we have to keep on. When he was denied permission to go to the temple, And when he put a task, which is insurmountable, he felt bad. Discontentment was there. That discontentment was due to, if that is not there, God would not have answered it. Just like somebody said, it is the onus on the part of God to fulfill the devotee's wish. So he had to come and perform the miraculous act of taking up the cultivation and harvesting and heaping the crop. So the onus is on him. Just like every time Papa leaves it to Ram to handle him, Nandanar also indirectly made him responsible by the discontentment. And the moment it was fulfilled, he had no other desire, Absolutely he had no desire. His you remember, one quotation is there, Papa, you should feel content with whatever you have been provided for, but at the same time you should have discontentment for not having sufficiently progressed on the spiritual path. Because that is the fuel. Otherwise, we get stagnated. We are satisfied with it. No, we should not be satisfied. Nandanar Charitram teaches us, reminds us today now. But no other desire. If discontentment was only to have the darshan of the Lord, it was denied to him. So he wanted to have it, that's all. That is the only discontent. No personal level demands, So this is one thing we are now praying. You give us that. You made us to hear Nandanar Charitram. You made us to go through your own. But now why don't you please give us this discontentment? We feel satisfied with whatever activities we are doing, either in the ashram or in our own place, under the banner of spirituality. But there is no pining, there is no enough is enough. We must get this. That sort of feeling, restlessness. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to say, when somebody was asking about it, he took him to the riverside and pressed his head on the water and he was struggling. He said, that sort of, Nalima, you please sit here. There. There also you may get, it should be better now. There also she may get, if it is very heavy raining, there also. God is always beside and within us, waiting to help us. But it will only reveal himself when we give up the thought that we can do it ourselves and leave everything to him. That's another thought. Charitram reminds us of this discontentment for not having sufficiently progressed on the spiritual path. That is the fuel. If that is not kept up, what will happen? We will be there where we are. And we will be contented with whatever little we are doing. Not that it will be a loss, but the gain will not be there much. Instead of doing something else, we are doing this, no doubt. But it should kindle, Every now and then with the blowpipe we used to do that. We have to do that. Probably even a satsang. You remember the words of Papa when he says, when we take stock. Every now and then we have to do the stock taking. Where are we now? Introspection and direct examination of his own heart are essential for a man who wishes to make himself pure and thereby prepare himself for obtaining eternal peace and happiness. Periodical introspection. Let the pride with which one is obsessed be laid in the dust. Every day today also we pray to Papa, O Creator, Protector, Destroyer of the world, I come in all humility to Thy holy feet and surrender myself entirely to Thee. Every day we are reminding, this is the purpose for which this prayer is, but each one has to find out, to what extent we are living up to this word. I come in all humility to Thy holy feet and surrender myself entirely to Thee. Are we doing it? So he says, let the pride with which one is obsessed be laid in the dust. Let him know where he stands, what he is, what his inner cravings are, what is the disease that has seized his soul, what are the impurities lurking in his mind, what is the great obstacle that stands between him and the immortal bliss and peace. What are the bonds that keep him tied down to the low levels of life and prevent him from soaring into the heaven of his real life? When he has thus, by deep reflection, the word is reflection, reflection, reflection. By no other method this is possible. When he has thus by deep reflection discovered what he is, he can, through prayer, self-discipline, company of great souls, and acts of love and compassion, get rid of all impediments, mental obsessions, nay darkness that envelops his soul, and realize the splendor, power, peace and joy of the great truth that dwells within him. Since we are not full-timers, this periodical introspection is recommended by Papa. Every now and then. And when we know our deficiencies, prayer, first one is prayer. Prayer from the bottom of the heart. First chapter taught us that. Where is rest, where is peace, This was the heart's cry of Ramdas. And the cry was heard. Prayer, self-discipline. So many self-denial we have seen. One is just on food, on sleep, and his preferences for satsang, Ramnam, meditation of Ram, the company of great souls. In his case, it may not be on the bodily level, but he was associating with the great souls through their texts and acts of love and compassion. Everywhere we saw now, there is no space for hatred, prejudice, anger. Nothing we call it as normally as negative, down-pulling tendencies. It is not there. By this, get rid of all impediments, mental obsession. So through these first 6-7 chapters, all these things will have come out. This is how we connect up, every chapter. So in our case, God is reminding us that we should do this stock-taking business whenever it's possible. Yesterday or day before yesterday, He made us to think about communion with Him, communing. At least for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Every day we have a dialogue with Him. That will ensure the nearness. Because first we need His nearness. Then only we will know that He is guiding us. So throughout our 16, 17 hours we may not be able to. So we will try now, as much as possible, some communion with Him by which His nearness is felt. It may be for a try, it may be for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. So we are praying to Him now, you bestow. You give us a workable formula, because you know our limitation. We all appreciate this, we all enjoy this hearing. But when the question of translating this into our very life, it is an uphill task for us. So here also you have to come out and help us. So you have to make us to do this periodical introspection and train us to pray with the right mental frame. Now, every day we are praying. Today also we prayed at the Bhajan Hall. The prayer for world peace, the prayer for universal prayer.
Yeah.
Everything goes on as a ritual. Both prayers are enough, agreed. But what to do at that time, we just repeat the words. It doesn't impact us much. So the purpose was by repetitive thing, it will slowly impact us. But we find now, sorry, though we would like to, it is for that purpose we go and sit there and recite. But somehow the mind is not there, involving itself in it. So you have to now do that also for us. You have made us to pray, but make us to pray from the bottom of the heart. And then self-discipline. Today being the Grahanam day, you prompted us to undergo certain small discipline. But even then I don't know whether you were able to accept it fully. Because normally we don't take any food during the Grahana period. So everything was to be done before the Grahana starts and then after the Grahana ends. It was a test you gave us. Everybody accepted before 9 o'clock. There was no midday meal today. But to what extent we have accepted it, each one only knows. So self-discipline, that also you give us the necessary strength and courage to take up this self-discipline. And you are giving us the company of great souls through so many of their biographies. But you give us the technique by which, something stays with us by having this satsang every day. Acts of love and compassion. So these four things are also that all. You may say that we have to do it, we want to do it, but we are by ourselves. There is some deficiency in us which is not helping us to translate these into our very life. Our mind may feel satisfied with certain things, but it should not be. Just like the pining was there for, the restlessness was there for Papa, you give us the same restlessness in our mind, so that all these things we will really make use of it. prayer, self-discipline, company of great souls, and acts of love and compassion. So this is how he is taking us up to Chidambaram, and tomorrow we will move to the Tirupakuriur. Brahmin Shiva in Tirupakuriur. No, that's the same. Yes. No, that is about the two students for the doctor's remark. That was the test. Okay. And then, day after tomorrow we will be entering into Pondicherry and Chidambaram. Tomorrow's test, every chapter brings the test. Apparently it was a test for the sadhaka, but it's really a reminder to us. We should start viewing every chapter as a test, and how Papa passed the test every time, and how, as somebody's remarked, God also passed the test every time. And how, because of this, you and I, when we start reading it, we enjoy it. Because we find there, one is putting we all remember that word in Papa's outpourings. O Ramdas, you are in Ram and out of him. You are everywhere along with him. He is everywhere along with you. He cannot leave you, you cannot leave him. He is tied to you, you are tied to him. You are in his custody, he is in your custody. He cannot do without you, you cannot do without him. He lives in you, you live in him. Still you are his slave and he is your protector. O Ram, thou art two, but thou art one. The lover and the loved in fast embrace become one. Two become one and one remains everlasting, infinite, eternal love. So this, we find it here. That is why he prompted somebody to write that Papa put Ram on test. Absolutely right, yes. When we read this, he cannot leave you, you cannot leave him. He is tied to you, you are tied to him. You are in his custody, he is in your custody. He cannot do without you, you cannot do without him. He lives in you, you live in him. Still you are his slave and he is your protector. So this time, he makes us to read all these gems, pearls of wisdom, so that something remains with us. This is how he wants to take us forward. So all that we can do is to pray to him ardently. We are all enjoying the journey which you have provided, you have facilitated. But let it not be, this 1 hour session business. Let it percolate into our daily life. You somehow make us to translate whatever you are teaching. To some extent, our equipment may not be fully ready to absorb everything. The omissions and commissions are there. Deficiencies are there. Insufficiencies are there. So, but still, we are your children. And you will not abandon us. So make us aware of this. And in our own way, let us try to, suiting to our equipment, let us try to bring in the core of your teachings. May not be in the same form, but in the way that is acceptable to the equipments which you have provided. If you have not provided, you are at fault. So within that you have to do this. So far we did not complain because we were not aware. Now you have made us aware. So we are complaining to you. Please step out. You cannot do. We cannot delay anymore. Please step out. Hold our hand. Give us a technique which is suitable to our equipment and take us forward. So let this prayer come from the bottom of the heart. Hari Om. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om. Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri 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 Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om. Hari Om to everybody. In question.
Yes.
So day for yesterday, we were in Chidambaram. God is taking us on a tour. He wants us to witness what all Papa had gone through, the various tests he imposed on Papa, and how Papa passed every test. With the result, the subservience to him became stronger and stronger and stronger. By that, God is teaching us now, Ram is teaching us now, that every incident, every so-called challenging incident has to be treated as a test. And when the imaginative faculty of making plans and seeking information was totally absent, that is the benchmark, that is the litmus test, where we rely totally. Though it is too much for all of us even to understand literally, that when he mentions about what is sannyas, climbing on the tree and leaving your two hands, we cannot even conceive of that state. That much trust we have. The important thing is the trust, not merely faith, trust in him. We were told in a place called Territory, about 100 kilometers from, more than 100 kilometers from ashram towards Calicut. There is a famous Rama temple. And during one of the Utsav period, when the various what do you call that in English?
Instruments?
People used to chant, people used to repeatedly mention the names of God with fullest fervor, and at that time one devotee was prompted from within just to go to the flagstaff. Flagstaff is, what a flagstaff will be before a temple. Nothing will be there, no steps will be there. He went up to the top.
So that is Gopura Kalasha, you mean?
No. Kudimaram.
Kudimaram. Flagstaff.
So it is difficult, to climb. Everybody, they all onlookers were, they were taken aback. It is not possible, simply not possible for anybody to do that. So this person, when he reached the top, he was back to his self, and he did not know what to do now. Nobody has got a clue what to do now. Again everybody started chanting Lord Anjaneya's name. Anjaneya, 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 with full. So this person who is on the top of he also chanted and became one with the chanting. And the thing was, he was just floating on the air, coming down not like, something is thrown, as if he was floating, slowly coming and touching the ground. He was unconscious. After some time, he regained consciousness. Everybody asked him, why did you do that? He said, we don't know. God made him to do that. And then when he reached the top, his sense of individuality again came back. So when again he prayed, then he lost his body consciousness. Then the water was floating up to that, and he was just floating on the top surface of the water, and the water level was coming down gradually. And he landed safely there. That means when we read this, imaginative faculty for making plans and seeking information was totally absent. How will I do this? It all stems from the sense of individuality. All these things we can hear only. Because our sense of individuality is so close to us, difficult. Probably in times of deep introspection, deep meditation, we may for a split second or for a few minutes, we may lose consciousness of the body. But otherwise, by and large, we are with those. So it's difficult for us to act. But these are all things that had happened. So without a guide, he was helpless. He depended for all things on Ram. So this is, he keeps on emphasizing this. Whom he was remembering every moment of his existence. In every chapter, he will say, meditation of Ram continued. So that was there, and then he went to the station. He was not allowed to get into the train. Even then, because his submission to Ram was total, he thought that was not the place, that was not the direction to which he should go. God will. So he came back. Then, journey to Tirupapuriyur, we are in the 8th chapter. I will first read it out. A little distance from the station under a tree were piled up some stones. Ramdas, going up to the place, sat down on them and continued his meditation of Ram. Again, no? It was past midday when another train arrived. Ramdas, leaving the place, got upon the platform. Nobody obstructing him at the gate this time, because the train was the right one for him to travel in. Here he came in touch with a sadhu, who immediately took him up. Ram gave him another guide. Both entered the carriage. The new sadhu Ram was very attentive. He asked him as to where he intended going. Ramdas was perplexed in this question. The simple truth was, he did not know. He replied, Ram knows. And since you are sent by Ram to guide him, you ought to know where he should go next. The sadhu Ram then said, I will take you to Tirupapuriyur and thence to Tiruvannamalai. As you please, replied Ramdas. You are Ram. Ramdas follows wherever you take him. Now the train was running. On the front seat facing Ramdas was seated two young Hindus, English educated. Both of them stayed for some time at the strange, careless, quaint sannyasi. That is Ramdas. Then one of them remarked to the other in English. They thought that the sannyasi before them was ignorant of the English language. Mark closely the sadhu facing us. He belongs, take my word, to a class of sannyasis who are perfect humbugs. The fellow has adopted this mode of life simply as a means of eking out his livelihood. This man is a veritable impostor and a hoax. This observation was highly approved by the other party, who held a similar opinion about poor Ramdas. They spoke something more, which he could not clearly catch, owing to the rolling sound of the running train. O Ram, how kind of thee to put Ramdas in a situation in which he is made to hear himself spoken of in this manner. Instead of feeling annoyed, he sent up a prayer to Ram to bless the young men for their frankness. Further, Ramdas could not resist the expression of his gratitude to these friends and thus addressed them with hands folded in salute. O kind friends, it gives Ramdas great pleasure to confess that he is in full agreement with the view that you have expressed about him. It is perfectly true that he is a fraud. He has simply put on the robes of a sannyasi in order to find a living thereby. But one thing more you discover in him, that is, he is mad of Ram, and every moment he cries out to him to make him pure and only live for Ram's sake. Besides, it is his humble presumption that Ram is taking him on this pilgrimage to purify him. This speech surprised both the friends, not so much on account of its import as the knowledge it brought them that the vagrant sannyasi could understand English and therefore had grasped the purport of their remarks, which were never intended to be known to him. A sudden change came over them. Both fell at his feet and sought his pardon for their thoughtless remarks, as they termed them. Thereafter they became very solicitous and kind. They inquired if he required anything to eat. This was a reminder to him that he had not tasted anything the whole of that day, a circumstance which he had entirely forgotten. He then told the friends that he was mainly living on fruits and would gladly accept any alms from them. After some consultation with the Sadhu Ram, the guide, they handed over to him some money for the purchase of fruits. For Ramdas, Ram's ways are indeed inscrutable. He is all love and all kindness. The first and foremost thing we come across is Papa never gave up this meditation of Ram. That he was leading him, he was guiding him, he was taking him. That is why at every moment of this trip, he was always balanced, composed, unruffled, unperturbed, not at all being anxious. Very important word. Second word, no? Ramdas going up to the place, sat down on them and continued his meditation. Continued, you know. And got into the train as prompted by Ram. Previously when he went, he was denied. He had no problem. Again he was prompted, he got into the train. And there Ram provided a guide also. The God is now, Ram is telling us, you know, when your reliance on me becomes total, I take care of you. You still feel you are doing it, so I don't. Whereas in his case, when somebody asks, where are you to go, he doesn't know. It is for Ram to decide. This is also an important matter. Again, Ram put him on a test. Every chapter, he is putting him on a test. Because in the second chapter, before taking him, Ram has made it clear that he wanted to swim in the wide ocean. Ram knew Ramdas wanted strength and courage, for gaining which Ram intended to make his ignorant and untrained slave to pass through a course of severe discipline, and this under his direct guidance and support. So test. What is the first test? The Sadhu Ram asked, where do you want to go? His reply was left to Ram's will.
No.
You are Ram, you know better. First test passed. Second test. Comments of two young educated persons as deceiver, fraud, And mind you, at that time the stomach was empty. So normally we place ourselves when we are hungry and when somebody says something. Can we, in the normal course, can we answer in a cool way?
You flare up.
We flare up. Correct, exactly. The stomach was empty. Normally our reaction will be aggressive. But in Papa's case, no. With folded arms he confessed. Because, that means he is well aware of the deficiencies and insufficiencies. And takes it as coming from Ram himself to correct. Deep within himself he must be feeling some deficiency or insufficiency, which he feels now. God reveals, Ram reveals through these two boys. What a level, no? That means self-effacement is total, no? That means Papa was viewing Ramdas as a separate individual. Identification with that individual was not there. If it was there, the flare-up would have taken place, definite. So he was watching, why should he otherwise go? So there may be some vestige of something, impurities. That's why he says Ram is intending him to take on a pilgrimage for purity. For purification. What is the word? Ram is taking him on this pilgrimage to purify him. So that means he is well aware of the deficiencies or insufficiencies and take it as coming from Ram himself to correct. Acha, now, when he passed the test, the transformation took place in the two young persons, and even inquired and provided food. Now, an important thing, that's what we feel. How Papa was able to do this? Somewhere in the corner of his mind, he was totally convinced that it is Ram alone who is playing this game. Because later he said, behold divinity in every aspect of this world Leela. Verily it is he at play in all beings and creatures. That is why he could take it with a positive frame of mind. This morning in our satsang we were reminded of, when we think about this Leela, we were prompted to dwell on this Sri Krishna Leela by Vanamali, the last chapter. To us, it may be an intellectual exercise at the moment, but it will definitely help us. At least it will help us to reflect more and more. We have heard this word from many saints, Leela, Leela, Leela. And here Papa says, behold divinity in every aspect of this world, Leela. Verily he is at play in all beings and creatures. So Vanamali concludes this book. Why does the Brahman, the immutable, the eternal, the ineffable, manifest himself? Why and how does the non-dual become dual? Advaita proclaims that duality is only an illusion. All is Maya. Brahman alone exists. That alone is Nitya. All else is Mithya. Once that is realized, the world of dualities will cease to exist. The Puranas, however, give a sweeter explanation. Lord Narayana is the Supreme Person, equivalent to Brahman, and this creation is his Leela, his play, the cosmic game. He is pictured as lying on his serpent couch, with his consort Lakshmi sitting at his feet, with eyes half closed, immersed in bliss. From this abode of peace, he decides to incarnate himself in order to enjoy his own creation. He takes on so many incarnations, but his incarnation as Krishna is the exciting climax. A burst of joyful laughter, as it were, exploring the frailties and beauties of his own creation, admiring its grandeur, plumbing the heights and depth of its meaning, sometimes flouting his own laws, sometimes obeying it. For he is the Purushottama, the Supreme Being, who possesses both the immutable unity and the mobile multiplicity. Lord Narayana is Satchit Ananda, existence, knowledge and bliss. His incarnation as Krishna is the expression of his Ananda or bliss. Because of it all creation is possible. Because of his play, his delight, his sweetness, Krishna is the incarnate divinity of love. He is the essence of the love. He is the essence of the love of the divine, for the divine. For the Jiva is also divine, and only the divine is capable of loving the divine with a love that is also divine. Krishna is the supreme, eternal, infinite, immortal, self-play, self-issuing, self-manifesting, self-finding. The blue boy of Vrindavan is the Lord descended into the world to play from the divine Ananda. The call of his flute seeks to transform the lower, ignorant drama of mortal life into this divine Ananda. Those who are deaf to this enchanting call of love may be forced to listen to the crack of the whip at Kurukshetra, but to the seer, that is only another aspect of his love. If he appears to break the established human molds, it is only in order to create new molds from higher planes, and for this he has to shock the sleeping mind of humanity in order to change, liberate, divinize it. He is the perfect love, perfect beauty, giving rise to perfect delight, the complete revelation of Satchidananda in a mortal frame. If this is Krishna, then what about the Jivas? Why and how did they manifest? Are they not divine and therefore part of the game? Why then do they not realize that it is a game? Why do they have to suffer and sin, laugh and cry? Why does the singing beggar not realize that he is in truth the divinity clothed in tatters? The Puranas declare that the whole of life is indeed the Leela of the Lord, in which he himself is the hero and the villain, the actor and the audience, the director and the producer, the song and the silence, even the very stage on which the drama is enacted. It is by a large mobilization of his prakriti, his energy, his will and power that he manifests himself in all his multiplicity. But then the question arises as to why he allows himself to be caught in the web of his own creation. Can the spider be trapped in its own web? The explanation is simple. The best actors are those who can completely immerse their private lives in the personality of the character they are portraying. So also in the cosmic drama, the supreme actor has to forget his true nature, allow himself to be caught in the web of his own Maya, if he is to completely and satisfyingly enact the different roles. He becomes the king on the throne, beggar on the street, murderer about to be hung, and the victim lying in a pool of blood, as well as the judge pronouncing judgment in the court. He is the solo actor, the solo enjoyer, the only experiencer, oblivious of his divine origin. Oblivious, he is not aware of it. Submerged in the role. He is playing, laughing, crying, dancing, singing, living, dying. The avatar comes in order to free the jiva from this complicated web of divine origin and enable it to realize its own nature. Fortunate are those who happen to catch the lilting strains of his sweet music emanating from his magic flute. For them the mundane world ceases to charm, and like the gopis of Vrindavan, they run in rapture to that enchanter in the forest, forgetting everything, spellbound by the form of that Lord of love and beauty, Shyama Sundara Vanamohana Vanamali. The Advaita seeks for the indefinable existence beyond personalities, but the devotee of God, Krishna, sees in him the indefinable personality. By adoring him, by union with him, the jiva can come to enjoy its own divine status. This is the promise made by him to Uddhava and Arjuna. Only then does the beggar realize that he was in truth the king who had taken on the role of the mendicant. Then the cosmic drama comes to a close, the curtain falls, the actor, director, audience remains in blissful, enraptured consciousness of himself as Satchit Ananda. This is the cosmic play, the play of God, inexplicable, tantalizing, adorable. Samarpanam at the lotus feet of Vanamali, the producer, director, the sole actor of the whole drama. Papa also uses this word very often. Not once or twice. A few of his quotations we will go through. Then we will know. At the moment we believe in the words of Shastras and Mahatmas, and in our case Papa. Papa says God is the only reality. He is seated within us. And everything happens by His will only. And it is for our ultimate good. This is the quintessence of Papa's philosophy. So we take it, He is seated within. In all our prayer, we bring the attributes. So sitting in our bosom as the nameless, formless, indwelling, all-pervading reality, in the form of life force, in the form of consciousness, in the form of intelligence. Still He makes us to forget Himself, makes us to play as an individual, makes us to feel the loss, feel the gain, feel the pain, feel the pleasure, makes us to go through anxious moments, makes us to feel in an exalted state. We just start watching ourselves. Based upon the declaration given by our masters, when God is within us and He is without us, not only me, as a spiritual aspirant, I have been asked to love all and serve all with the feeling. At the time of inauguration of this ashram, he also made it clear that the ideal of this ashram is universal love and service based upon the vision of divinity in everybody. That means all this play, He is behind, He is behind, He is behind. So we will try to at least intellectually get totally convinced about it, and then with that we pray to Him. You have made me to understood that You are within me, You are making me to speak these words. You are making me to hear these words. You are making me to see. You are making me to smell, hear, taste, think. No? When that being the case, now I realize that what I am playing as a so and so is your play. Papa says, so beloved Ram, in spirit you are immortal, in form you are changing. As former you are free, undefiled, changeless, a blissful witness of the passing phenomena of name and form. This phenomena is your own play. You dwell in all, you appear as all. You are both with form, without form. You are the watcher of your own Leela. The pleasure and pain belong to the passing appearance, but as the unchanging Atman, you are the very essence of immortal bliss. Another quotation. To look upon the whole thing as Leela, we must stand apart from it, identifying ourselves with the immutable, eternal witness who is unaffected by and unattached to what is going on. All movement in the universe, all activity, all motion, all work belong to God's will or Shakti. The individualities, I, you and he, are all myths. For his wonderful Leela, the Absolute One has become himself the Bhagavan and Bhakta, Guru and Chela, Lord and servant, mother and child. This assumption of duality in eternal union and oneness of the two is due to his will to enjoy Premanandam. In truth, all is he. The one chooses to be many. The one manifests as many. His infinite prema and anand are in his manifestation in the form of bhakta. He merges himself in this boundless ocean of bliss and love. In which he pretends to be not conscious of himself. You know, a player on the stage pretends to be something different from what he is. Similarly, he is playing the universal game, putting on various masks, posing that he is not what he is. We are all he. Let us not forget this truth. From duality you reach non-duality. Ramdas here tells you his own experience. We have to play, each one, a part allotted to us by him, who is the master of the play. He is within us and he is responsible for this Leela. If we are aware of him within us, we play our part well. If we forget him, we play our part ill. While in the former case we reap happiness, in the latter we reap misery. We have to play each one a part allotted to us by Him, who is the master of the play. Papa, in these seven chapters we have found, especially after the saga started from the third or fourth. Every time he was conscious of this. He has put it in a different way, that's all. That is why he was not elated or dejected. At every turn of events, we call it a surrender or submission. But now we realize surrender or submission becomes possible only when we see the finger of God in everything. There is no other, so nobody to be blamed. Nothing is to be blamed, nobody to be blamed. Because God does. So we have to play each one as a part allotted to us by Him, who is the master of the play. He is within us and He is responsible for this play. If we are aware of Him within us, we play our part well. If we forget Him, we play our part ill. While in the former case we reap happiness, in the latter we reap misery. All is Leela or play of God. Here Ramdas is reminded of the inspired words of William Shakespeare, who makes the actor in his play, as you like it, utter these words. All the world is a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and entrances. It is now to look upon the whole world as a Leela of the Lord. We stand apart, seeing that the whole universe is filled with His presence, and that by His power all things are happening in the world. In a state of complete surrender to the will of God, our ego disappears. We feel identified with the all-pervading, static, silent spirit which we know is ourself. As such, we witness with detachment the manifestations which are before us and the power that is active in them. We are the spectators and we are the players. We are not only with the universal spirit, but as also with the universal manifestation. This is the highest attainment in which the sense of duality, sense of separation from the rest of the people in the world disappears completely. The ecstasy that we get then cannot be described. We are merged in that ecstasy day and night. We act, work, walk, do everything in that ecstasy. We do not remain idle. We pour ourselves out in words and actions and fill everybody who comes near us with love and joy. So like that, Papa keeps on bringing about the various aspects of this play. So in quest of God, now slowly introducing this theme to us. So somewhere in the corner of the mind we have to keep this. That He is the director, producer,
Player also.
player, because as a director and producer, He stands apart from the player. Then He is also the player. And He makes the player to forget about it. Because the direction comes from within. The cause for producing cause that comes from within. And the act only comes without. Why he doesn't? Puja Swamiji was once telling us, or I think we have read it in Papa's words. He was discussing, I think it in the Vision of God or somewhere. He was chatting with a few friends. Suddenly he got up and left. So somebody asked, where are you going? Why are you going? Ram made him to go. After some time he came back. Oh, you have come back? Ram made him to come back. Like that. Even on a minutest thing, Papa was able to maintain that feeling. The solo actor, solo director, solo producer. This is a thing on which we have to do a lot of going deep within. Behold divinity in every aspect of this world, Leela. Verily it is He at play in all beings and creatures. At the moment we are unable to accept it. We accept it because it is said by Papa. But there should be a constant of, because he is telling not because somebody told him, He is telling because of the experience. So now our attempt is to get at least some glimpse of that experience. So he gives some clues. Spectator, to become spectator. Sarvadi Sakshi Bhuta. So if we have to recognize, become aware of his presence within, then he says we should become we have to play each one a part. Okay. God himself has assumed all names and forms in this world play in which he pretends to be not conscious of himself. You know, a player on the stage pretends to be something different from what he is. Similarly, he is playing the universal game, putting on various masks, posing that he is not what he is. We are all he, let us not forget. To look upon the whole thing as a Leela, we must stand apart from it. Identifying ourselves with the immutable eternal witness who is unaffected by and unattached to what is going on. Even in our ordinary play, a drama, the story is written by somebody, story and lyrics they are written, and the director is given charge. He goes through the whole thing. He decides the actors, he decides the venues, he decides the costume, he decides the dates, he decides the sequence upon which all these things have to be enacted. And then he closely watches the actor. They call it a score sheet, and there will be a big chart. It's a laborious job. Because each episode, when he tries to bring it out, he has to locate the place. And who are all the actors in that particular? What should be their costume? What are the things that are required? Suppose, he has to carry some vessel, carry some article, carry some weapons, All these things really has to be listed minutely. At that time we cannot go. And the dress. Okay, and then the actor. Then the particular actor for that. Then the consequence. How after this, after that, after this, after that. What we have gone through when we were in the school, when we were given the role of a directing. So at that time our teacher told us all these things. So it's a tremendous job. So we can understand what a tremendous job the Lord is doing. At a time he is having this cosmic play. Just imagine. Everything, that is why everything is preset, determined, pre-programmed, they say, Because it is pre-programmed, otherwise it will not move from moment to moment. The same thing is done when a play is done here. Suppose somebody goes for shooting, he has to make all this chart. well equipped. And even the makeup. A person who is having the scene is in a Raudra Bhav, he cannot have a passive voice, passive face, So who decides, who guides? The director. So we are now just closing our eyes and we are watching. At this moment, how you are directing us. Go to this particular page, read this, share this thought, watch this thought, the play in the play, It is not separate. Even the very act of now, reading and sharing is also his own cosmic play. He has arranged everything. That is why he is the great provider, he is the great facilitator.
Swami, for how many people he has to?
To him there are not how many, To us, it seems Ram has already chosen Ramdas as his own being. Papa was already highly realized soul, otherwise how could he have known the test being put to him? Here the director Lord is unseen, but the director will be behind the curtain. That is why she says that last word is very beautiful, no? He himself is the hero and the villain, the actor and the audience, the director and the producer, the song and the silence, and even the very stage on which the drama is enacted. Samarpanam at the lotus feet of Anamari, the producer, director and sole actor of the whole drama. So we can add in our prayer now. We have heard this many a times. But as you make us to go through the inquest of God, the various episodes, and as you keep on making us convinced that how Papa was having an unruffled, unshaken, unperturbed attitude towards all that was happening. Later on he said, behold divinity in every aspect of this world Leela. So he knew the cause for everything is from him. He is put him on. We call it as test. Here we can call it as a play, that's all. To make him know that he is the sole producer and director, and also the player. And he needs this play. Otherwise, why should he choose to become? That is why he, in the outpourings, he mentions it, O Ramdas, you are in Ram and out of him. You are everywhere along with him. He is everywhere along with you. He cannot leave you, you cannot leave him. He is tied to you, you are tied to him. You are in his custody, he is in your custody. He cannot do without you, you cannot do without him. He lives in you, you live in him. Still you are his slave and he is your protector. So that means we are not separate. Through that outpourings, he makes it very, 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 very clear. He has put it in a different way, that's all. So the sense of individuality is also his projection. Intellectually we try to understand. Ramnam should enable us to realize this truth. So when we take to chanting of Ramnam or any other discipline, if this is very clear to us, probably it might give a greater push in our journey to the ultimate. At the moment we are unable to accept it as his Leela. We take everything as genuine. We act, we proact, we act, we react. Doesn't matter. That is also part of his. But now through this, he is making us aware. That is why, the relevance of spiritual preceptors come. Otherwise, how will we know? If Papa had not told us this, we would not have applied our mind at all. With this background, when we go through a book called Sri Krishna Leela, we enjoy it more because, this is what our master said. So every time it gets authenticated. And then finally, still we are only enjoying it. Then he makes us to go through his own life and mission. This is what is happening in our case now. In spite of all these, we are not convinced about it. Our sense of individuality is still intact. We worship him, we chant Ram Nam, everything is there, but he is separate, I am separate. We have not accepted him as an indwelling reality. So now he is boring, drilling inside. We are refusing, we are resisting for the drilling. But he is now trying to inject into us. I am here. Don't search me out. When you chant Ram Nam, you bring this into your mind. Let not your mind go hither and thither. It is I who is making you to chant Ram Nam, so that you will know that I am the indwelling reality. I am making you to play as an individual. And when I make you to play as an individual, naturally I make you to forget this. But every now and then I give you a chance to come to the green room, freshen up and then go back again. And then play. By that, slowly, whatever that happens on the stage will not affect me. Because I know that my real home is inside. So these are all the way in which he is now probably trying to lead us. This is how the inferences now come in our mind. by making us to go through in quest of God deeply, not at the surface level, not at the mental and intellectual level, but at the spiritual level He makes us to go. Every word now. That is why everywhere we find the meditation of Ram continued, because that is the anchor, that is the insulation, that makes every other so-called down pulling tendencies cannot enter. I become impervious to it because the sheet anchor is there. Meditation of Ram. He is behind. He is the sole doer. He has given me a role to play. I have to play the role. But at the same time, as an individual when I play, there are many moments where He makes me to forget Himself. But in the shortest possible time, He pulls me up and tells me, hey, look here, I am there. Later on also we will find that, even in the vision of God we will find that. Every now and then He makes him to forget and then immediately pulls him. You will remember that, why this lamentation, that chapter. Every time when He takes up, when He makes us to put, He makes us to forget about His presence within us. Then He makes us to have the joy and sorrow, everything. Then in the shortest possible time, He pulls us up and says, hey, I make you to love. Okay, it's all right. So our sadhana, for all that, this meditation of Ram is necessary. So that this dual role goes on beautifully. If I completely identify myself with Him, there is no role. If I completely identify with my role, I forget Him. But if there is our prayer, our satsang, our contact with the spiritual preceptor, all these things help us initially to come to know that we are all playing the role allotted to us. When He gives us time like this, when He makes us to ponder deeply upon this, these are all the things which will give us the cushioning, or what you call the pause moments, where He will give us the privilege of detaching ourselves from that particular scene and making us aware of His presence within. Immediately we will feel it light, though outwardly we may not show. Because that's the rule He has given. In Bhagavad Gita, He says in the Lord Krishna, I have already slain these people. You are only a nimitta. That means, I have already done. But I want you to play this, Nimitta matram bhavasavya sajin. In another sloka He says, Maam anusmara yudhyacha. Remember me and fight this battle. I have given you a battle of life to perform. At all times and in all places. Remember me and fight. So now everything He makes us to go through previously, He would have made us to enjoy the literal, the content. But now He makes us to slowly realize, all these words I have already told you, It was not for repetition. It is not for sharing for others. It is for you to dwell deeply into yourself and to realize that I am there. So these are all some of the thoughts, this particular chapter. Not only this chapter and the cumulative effect of our reflection It gives us that. A little distance from the station, under a tree was piled up some stone. Ramdas, going up to the place, sat down on them and continued his meditation of Ram. The more we concentrate upon that, it becomes clear. That was the sheet anchor, no? He was not bothered about food, he was not bothered about anything that was happening outside. All because of this sheet anchor. Constantly hammering. That everything is a play. He is at play in different roles. So why should I? I should wait for the next call. I should wait for the next order from him. And that is one way of looking. Another way of looking at it is Ram is testing him. Whether at any time he has got this Mataji's language, Deha Buddhi. So he has not taken any food. He is not asking anybody anything. He doesn't know where to go. And when the Sadhu Ram comes and asks, where do you want to go? Like a child, innocent, he said, he doesn't, Ram knows. And since you are sent by Ram to guide him, you ought to know where he should go next. Well, I am taking you to Tiruvannamalai. As you please, you are Ram. Ramdas follows wherever you take him. You see, minutest, all this was possible because of the continued meditation. Because he is interacting with the world outside. You and I complain that when we interact with the world outside, we lose the contact. But here he is interacting with the world outside, but still not losing the contact.
He told the imaginative faculty as absent.
Imagining faculty is totally absent. Every word. And when the two boys, when they said, how we reacted, we just imagine. Two ways of looking at it. Honestly, as an actor, he says, yeah, I am on my process of purification. He recognizes that there are some impurities, there are some insufficiencies and deficiencies in him. And that is why he was prompted to take up this. Or God guided him to go. Another way of looking at it, that is also his play. So every time God ensures that he passes the test. Whether he is taking everything on himself or he is attributing to the source, the substratum. All chapters are only having 1 or 2 pages, but look at the way in which it takes us. Tomorrow it will be more interesting, Pondicherry and Tiruvannamalai. So today he has brought this dimension of world play, world leela. So let us all try to go deeper and deeper and deeper into it. The solo director, solo producer, solo actor, the villain and the hero, the song and the silence, all the opposites. So through bhakti, that's why we say jnani bhakti, jnani bhakta. Through bhakti, with the Advaitic principle, Advaitic theme is being introduced. Through bhakti. So that the dryness is not felt. We have collected, all his, revelation from this standpoint and brought it in the form of musings of Papa. There, each and every article here is dancing, from this stage. Tomorrow we will try to read a few from that. All these things are there. The teacher and the taught, he will say. He is also the teacher, he is also the taught. And how he behaves like a tot, and how he is looking at him as a teacher, and finally how the teacher and tot become one. So, with all these, when we connect up, it becomes more and more clearer and clearer for us. Papa's musings. But today we are already late. One I will. I and you are one. I and you are He. I wish to know God. I rose above all petty ratiocinations. I went beyond the range of so-called rational thinking. I stopped the gymnastics of the relative and erring talk and argument. God is self-existent, self-luminous. I gained awareness of Him by stilling thought, by which God within me unveiled. I knew I am He. My heart was aflame with aspiration, resulting in the disappearance of all thoughts, and in finding the ego to be false. The name of God enabled me to achieve this end. I trusted the name. I realized I am He. For a time, the world melted away from my vision. My body was forgotten in the constant thought of God within me. I realized the immutable, formless truth in which all is not, God only is. This is my experience. Then my eyes opened, body moved. I saw the world as myself. Then I came to know I am He. God is my critic. God is my judge. God is my friend. This is all relative. I am none of these, for they are merely names and forms. I am myself He. My philosophy is name and God. Name is myself. I see all the manifest world as myself. I transcend them all. I am He. My approach is to myself. I only am. All that exists is myself. Oh, reader of these words, I am on all planes of life, yourself. You are myself, for you and I are one. I close my eyes, it is all ecstasy. I open them, it is all joy. All forms of my world being are so many ripples in my infinite joy. I am joy, for I am He. None can fathom me, for he who tries to do is myself. Why do I write these lines? To reveal God's glory, which is my own, your own, for I and you are He. I searched for Him, I found Him in me and in you. Verily, I, you and He are one. In the world drama, I play all parts, as giver and receiver, as doer and non-doer, as king and beggar, as master and servant. Behind all wheels, all garbs, all masks, I am the soul, spirit and power, ever free, ever blissful, so I am He. So all these, slowly it will penetrate into our realm of thoughts. That here is the testimony is Papa's life himself. It is not the Shastra we are reading. We are learning the Shastra through the example of Papa's life. From the individual level to the universal level. Then only he was able to declare that everything is play of God. Let us all try to assimilate as much as we can. Pray to Him from the bottom. You have made known to us that you are within. You are making me unaware of this. Why don't you give me the joy of becoming aware of your presence? At least for some time. Then you again allow me to play. I don't mind. But every now and then you make me aware. You call me to the green room. And then push me out. I don't mind to work out my karma. But having come under your umbrella, you should not leave me totally unaware of your presence. Let this prayer well up in our heart. Hari Om. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Ram, Jai Ram, Jai
Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Om.
Shri 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 Ram,